This week's reading is entitled, Can Man See God? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. This passage is from the 11th chapter from the Bhagavad Gita. Thou canst not see me with mortal eyes. Therefore I now give thee sight divine. Behold my supreme power of yoga. With these words, Hari, the exalted Lord of Yoga, revealed himself to Arjuna in his infinite form. The meaning of Hari is thief. Here it applies to God as the thief of hearts. For God's love, once felt in the heart, is so attractive that it steals away our love from every lesser object of affection. His love is great enough to overwhelm every human desire. He is described in the scriptures as Rasha, supremely relishable. As St. John Vianney, a Christian mystic, said, "If only you knew how much God loves you, you would die for joy." Sri Krishna makes it clear in this passage that we cannot see God with merely human vision, nor can we behold him by our human will alone. Our devotional desire to behold him must be strong, but we must nevertheless understand that it is by God's grace alone that we can gain entry into highest spiritual realms. God's reality is far beyond human power to conceptualize. For human understanding, it is unimaginably vast, inconceivably impersonal, incomprehensibly abstract, an infinite light, a sound as of many waters, an overwhelming love, an indescribable bliss. Even to speak of God in human terms is misleading, for he has no form as we can understand the word. If we would know him, it is important to live in the thought of infinity and to eschew the petty realities of this world. If we strive always to live in divine consciousness, so the scriptures have promised, we shall eventually win God's response. As the Holy Bible states, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Paramhansa Yogananda, in Autobiography of a Yogi, describes the supernal experience in words more readily comprehensible to modern minds than the poetic phraseology of the Bhagavad Gita. The chapter, An Experience in Cosmic Consciousness, is one of the most inspiringly beautiful in all mystical literature. Here is a brief excerpt. An oceanic joy broke upon calm, endless shores of my soul. The Spirit of God, I realized, is exhaustless bliss. His body is countless tissues of light. I saw the divine dispersion of rays pour from an eternal source, blazing into galaxies, transfigured with ineffable auras. Again and again I saw the creative beams condense into constellations, then resolve into sheets of transparent flame. By rhythmic reversion, sextillion worlds passed into diaphanous luster. Fire became firmament. I cognized the center of the Empyrean as a point of intuitive perception in my heart. Irradiating splendor issued from my nucleus to every part of the universal structure. The creative voice of God I heard resounding as Om, the vibration of the cosmic motor. This, so the great masters aver, is what God is. And this also, they insist, is what we are in our deepest reality. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Or shall I say namaskaram? And what a blessing we get to be in this temple full of light. It's just such a blessing, surrounded by the masters. And every one of you are angels. We recognize that every day and keep you in our prayers. Not that our prayers are special. I think we all keep each other in prayers. And that's important as devotees, to pray for others and hold them in the light. And so anyway, this is a very beautiful passage. You know, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible both talk about God as a vastness. And, you know, Master gave us the blessing of recognizing different aspects of the divine in our own selves. And, of course, we cover this in all of our core classes. The 8 manifestations of God. I always have to have a list because I can always leave one out. Love, light, peace, calmness, wisdom, sound, power, joy. And so these are all contained in that vastness as well. You know, we're going to end my talk with a visualization Swamiji wrote that we can tune in towards the vastness. But for now, I'm going to focus on these aspects because they can be very practical. We want to tune into aspects of the divine and recognize when we're not tuning into the aspects of the divine. And this list is handy. Not that God is just squished into these 8 manifestations, but you can think of it that way, but the manifestations are actually like this with endless, infinite possibilities. So, but he gives us this guidance to tune into these aspects. I also wanted to mention, you know, that affirmation on contentment. Living in contentment is so important. You know, when we have changes we want to happen in our life, we very often get agitated until finally some kind of a change happens, or we force a change or something, because the heart is full of so much restlessness that it doesn't allow for any kind of miracle to happen or any kind of grace to happen. Instead, you know, we just agitate until some kind of a change happens. But that's not how you want to make your next steps in life now that we are devotees. We want to, you hear the word contentment and you think, no way, I'm not going to be content with my situation, you know, but that's not the point. The affirmation is, I live in God's peace. So no matter what, through any of life's storms, if we can live in God's peace through our meditation and tune into that peace more and more deeply and not tune into all the negative things like anger and all those criticalness and all these other things that draw us off the path. We instead want to tune into that peace. And so it doesn't mean we become passive at all. We're not saying, okay, Master, whatever you want, I'll accept. It's not that. It takes great courage to live in that peace when something bad is happening. Great courage. And so we have the courage to meditate no matter what's happening, because when something bad is happening, we're kind of like, when's it going to get me? When's it going to, you know, you're always looking over your shoulder. When's it going to finally hit me? You know, that kind of a stuff. But really, we want to just have the courage to meditate, have the courage to live in that peace, and we find the answer comes through that feeling of contentment. With contentment must come calmness, and this is one of the things in Master's 8 aspects of the divine, calmness. So we have a certain amount of calmness about our situation. We offer it up to Master, we feel that peace in our heart, and then the answers come through our intuition, the answer to that. And we may think, I have to make this change now. I have to make this change now. And in actuality, Master is saying, but first you have these lessons to learn. And as soon as we can acknowledge that, first I have these lessons to learn, then we try and tune in. What are my lessons that I'm trying to learn first? And then when finally Master says, or the divine says, you have now learned that lesson, then we're allowed to move forward. But we're not allowed to move forward until God sees we have learned. We can't just say, I've learned it. I've learned it. Okay, come on, give me that change. No, he sees all, right? So he knows, yeah, but you still have that one attitude that I'm really trying to get you to modify inside. And until you change that, we're thinking, what attitude? I don't know what you're talking about. It seems so mysterious. The same is true for liberation. We think if I just do 108 kriyas twice a day, and then also throw in some higher kriyas in there, then, that's what's going to liberate me. But no, we have the lessons that come along with life. We don't get liberated without learning our lessons. You can't bypass. It's called a spiritual bypass. When you say, I'm not going to work on myself, I'm just going to do these kriyas, and then everything will be great. No, it's together. And so I've told this story before. I was in an engineering job once, and boy, the whole office was in turmoil. There was poor leadership, and layoffs were happening, and all sorts of things were going on, and I was revving my engines like, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And every day. But then I got on the path while I was an engineer, and I said, okay, I'm going to practice contentment. I will not think about change. For 6 months, I won't let myself think that, because every time I think that, I'm going to say some affirmation. And so I just collected the affirmations from Swami and Master that I thought would help me through that. So every time I thought change, I just said the affirmation. I said, I want to learn my lesson. I even said, I was so on fire on the path. I was saying, give me all my lessons in this life. All of them. And, I think I still feel that, but with not the emotion behind it. If Master wants to give any lesson, here we are. And so it's not a bad prayer to say, give me all my lessons in this life. Give me all my karma in this life. Can we say that? And so, so anyway, I just, for 6 months, said I am not going to even contemplate applying for anything different or anything. And then, I don't remember how many months into that, a friend called me who had quit and said, we've got some job openings at this great company. It was kind of the Hewlett-Packard of medical equipment, and they're the ones that invented the pulse oximeter. Everybody wears something on their finger. That's the pulse oximeter. Now you can buy it on Amazon, and we have one just in case we need it. Actually, the watch now gives us the pulse oximeter, the oxygen content. So anyway, they invented that technology and invented the first machines that were doing that. And so I got to travel all over the United States checking out things as an engineer, and it was a really great job. It was probably my dream job. And then I quit and started working for Ananda after a while. But in any case, my friend just called out of nowhere and said we could use someone with, whatever skills I had at the time. We could use someone. And so then it was like, hey, I guess I practiced my contentment and this happened. And we know a lot of miracle stories like that here. People will often share how, they were helped through such difficult times and blessed so deeply by miraculous things. It doesn't mean we have to hold out for a miracle. We have to have willpower too. So we can't just kind of give up, go passive, and say, whatever you want, Master, and then not do anything. So we have to follow our internal whatever. And it took willpower on my part to not constantly think, change, 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 And so that was my form of contentment. And I learned a very important lesson about that. And so many people always want to change their jobs. And so just think about, what's going on. It's very important to have a job and to use your talents to feel good about yourself. And, a job in some way, even if it's being a mother with children or whatever it is, we have to have purpose and meaning in our lives. We can't just float around aimlessly and do nothing, because then we never have the willpower we need in life. It's a very important aspect of the spiritual path for a devotee who's serious about this path, to have a purpose and use their willpower to live their life. Master said willpower was one of the most important things we have on the spiritual path. We know many people who just kind of go with the breeze, and they're never satisfied. They're always unhappy. They're always complaining. And so it's very important to have willpower, to have purpose, to live a life of purpose. It's important to all of us. We hear people speaking about this all the time. So back to calmness, I wanted to talk about peace. And so Master said peace is one of the easiest feelings to have in meditation, and he differentiates peace from calmness. He says peace is a little bit more something we generate during meditation, but then you come out of meditation and anything can happen that kind of destroys your peace. It's not necessarily a lasting thing. That's why we always say when you're meditating, you want to hold on to your peace that you've generated as long as possible. Like, don't doom scroll, as we were talking about earlier for those who are late. Don't start arguing with someone who is argumentative. Hold them at bay for a little bit. Not time for an argument yet. Time to instead enjoy my peace. And don't create arguments. Like in your meditation, you're thinking at the end, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, I'm going to say this, and then you kind of get all emotional again after you just had your peace. Put it out of your mind. Don't be that way. Act only from the center. Act only from a place of peace. And then you'll never regret your actions. If, everybody's been through that, regretting actions. And so that peace can be kind of, taken away, or you go to work and then there's an emergency. Well, you can still hold on to your peace even in the middle of an emergency. Think of those emergency people who help in the medical world. The only way they can save lives is by calmness, and not indifference, but just calmness. And they're dealing with life and death issues, and yet they have calmness in it. And that's the only way they can solve we have a dentist here, a dentist professor, who said she was doing an operation and she just had this intuition to have a certain kind of, was it gas or something on it? Huh? Glucose. Oh, just have some glucose in the room. Not necessarily something always there, I guess, or whatever. And in the middle of this operation, someone had an emergency and needed it. And so she had, in her calmness, she heard the message, she got that glucose, and saved that patient's life. Hi, if you hear me, Purni. It's always been an inspiring story that I've held on to. And so, there's always those things that happen to us that, in this case, saved a person's life. So how beautiful. Now, it wasn't their time to go. And so Master even said ahead of time, do this. You didn't have to run out, And when I worked for the pulse oximeter company, before that, they would take what's called your blood gas. They would withdraw blood and test it blood gas. Dr. Sharmila knows. Test the blood gas to tell us what your oxygen level was. And that could take a half hour or longer to test that. They'd have to leave the room and go have some lab tested and then go back. And a big part of deaths that used to happen in the operating room were due to low oxygen levels. And so that pulse oximeter saved so many lives. I can't remember. I used to know when I worked for them the percentage of deaths that, it went to very few people dying that, and there was a large percentage before. I wish I knew that. That would have been helpful. But anyway, that also came from someone's inspiration. Like, wouldn't it be great if instead of running out of the room and testing, something could tell you right there to give you that? So, see, in our calmness, we can do things that even save lives. And so we're not often in a life-death situation, so why not use it to save ourselves in so many different ways? These inspirations come in many ways, and they come often from calmness. And calmness is not something we can just say, okay, and now I'm calm. Calmness is something that we are able to incorporate over time, maybe years, inside ourselves. And in that calmness, it's something that will live there permanently. Of course, if we don't do things to destroy it. That calmness can be there for you and be a basis for feeling all the other aspects of the divine. But it takes time. It takes many years of practicing, but you can slowly increase your calmness if that is your goal. So peace, we can have any moment. Calmness, we have to really work on. It has to be a goal. We have to say, Nayaswami Jayaji, and even Jyotishji and Deviji, Nayaswami Jayaji, though, is especially someone that I look to who is just filled with this deep, deep calmness. And, it makes a person like a tree. You can't even push them over because that calmness runs so deep. And it's not passive at all. It's very strong. It radiates power. And so that calmness has been something that held, Ananda India very strongly. And then, of course, over the years, other people also are calm and know the value of that, who are also doing things. So calmness is a beautiful trait to try and go for. And that is what we find in the vastness of the divine. So when Master says, tune into the vastness of the divine, I'm going to do a visualization now from Swamiji. Tune into a vastness of the divine. In that vastness is calmness. Now, we might get a temporary feeling of peace from hearing this visualization, but it's trying to express also that calmness is the key to feeling the vastness of the divine. So let's go ahead and sit upright and just try and look at the spiritual eye while I read this, and try and just meditate on this. So Swamiji writes, the devotee should meditate every day on the infinite vastness. Think of God, therefore, not only within the bounds of your imagination, as a mother, father, or divine friend, but think of him also as that infinite being, out of which the vast universe was brought into existence, as that supernal consciousness toward which all your highest inspirations aspire. Meditate on an expanding light. Okay. Visualize it first as a shining point in the center of your forehead. Expand that light outward between your eyebrows and feel it flowing over your entire body, filling every cell of your body with light. Christ spoke of this light when he said, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." Visualize this light expanding beyond the boundaries of your body to become an aura of golden light surrounding it. Think of this aureole rather than of your physical form as your true body. Go on expanding the light. Fill the place where you are sitting with shimmering golden light. The room, the building, your surrounding neighborhood. Expand the light further still. Behold it spanning the nations of the earth, the continents, the oceans, the whole world. From your heart, send rays of that light outward in blessing to all mankind. At last, release your light from its earthly limitations. Behold it streaming outward joyously into all the solar system, into the vast galaxy. Behold it filling the entire universe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.